Kurtop here, and these are 100 cities that disappeared from the map as if they never existed. Second Sphinx. Giza, eastern edge of the plateau. Everyone knows the stone guardian at the Pyramid of Khafre, but in ancient texts, Egyptologist Bassem Ash-Sham found a strange duality: the Sphinx father of fear and the Sphinx mother of fear. And here's what comes together. Between the front paws of the current Sphinx stands the stele of Thutmose IV. On it are two creatures, not one. A clay tablet found nearby tells of a statue that was struck by lightning and its head was broken. The strike hit the metal crown. Lightning loves metal. During recent ground-penetrating radar surveys, geophysicists from Cairo University examined a dune south of the current Sphinx. At a depth of about 4 meters, the devices recorded an elongated dense contour about 60 meters long, corresponding to the size of the body of the surviving monument without a head. The signature differs from the usual limestone strata, which speaks in favor of a man-made object. There are several reasons why the find is not excavated. Firstly, there is a risk of sand falling and cracks appearing on the walls of neighboring temples. Secondly, official structures are afraid of disputes around the change in the general appearance of the plateau. While excavation is prohibited, the potential Mother Sphinx remains under the sand, but the complex actually preserves half of the composition conceived by its creators. Two sphinxes were carved from the same rock about 10,000 years ago when the Sahara climate was humid. Later, one lost its head from a lightning strike. The destroyed statue was covered with sand. Superstitious priests did not risk restoring the bad sign. 1,000 years later, Thutmose IV dug up and restored the surviving father of fear and kept silent about the second. Since then, we have seen only half of the plan. And while the mysterious shape lies beneath the sand, the story of Giza remains unfinished, like a missing page in a great book. Mayan Cosmogram. In the state of Tabasco, southern Mexico, archaeologists have explored the Guanajuato Tunnels site, a massive earthen structure hidden beneath the forest. It's barely visible on satellite images, but LiDAR, a laser scanning technique capable of removing vegetation, has revealed the clear contours of a platform nearly 1.5 kilometers long. This structure turns out to be older than all known Mayan centers, dating back to approximately 1000 BC. That is, 1,000 years before the construction of their famous pyramids and cities. Around the platform, the remains of canals, dams, and straight roads, oriented strictly according to the cardinal directions, were found. It all appears to be a carefully planned complex, built without stone, only of earth and clay. Scientists call Guanajuato Tunnels a cosmogram. It's neither a temple nor a city, but rather a symbolic space, a model of the world embodied in the landscape. Judging by the finds, mass gatherings, rituals, and feasts took place here. But there are no traces of kings, palaces, or sculptures. It appears that all of this was built not under the authority of a ruler, but by communities, without a centralized authority. This discovery came as a surprise to archaeologists. Previously, it was believed that monumental Mayan structures appeared only after the formation of complex cities, and an elite Guanajuato Tunnels shows the opposite. Large structures may have arisen before states, as the result of collective efforts. Today, the site is being further studied. For residents of the region, it is becoming a point of pride, and for archaeologists, a reminder that history does not always unfold in a straight line. Sometimes people create not for power, but for an idea. It existed. Until recently, scientists believed that the grandiose project to build the capital of Assyria, Dur-Sharrukin, Khorsabad, froze in a half-finished form after the death of King Sargon II. However, new geophysical research proves the opposite. The city was completed and actively functioning. Archaeologists used the magnetometry method, which allowed them to discover the remains of an impressive 127-room villa, probable royal gardens, and a water gate, as well as other large structures. All these discoveries indicate that Khorsabad was a thriving center beyond the main palace. Conceived by Sargon II himself in 713 BC as the Fortress of Sargon, the city did not sink into oblivion after his death. New data contradicts the long-standing opinion about the unfinished project and reveals the hidden life of the ancient capital. Work resumed in 2017 after the area was liberated from ISIS. Led by the French archaeological mission, the team used a high-precision magnetometer to visualize underground structures without expensive excavations. It turned out that Khorsabad, contrary to long-held doubts, served as a full-fledged capital of Assyria, and now modern discoveries are revealing even more about the scale and wealth of the ancient empire. Ruins of an ancient civilization underwater. In the early 2000s, a team of researchers led by the Canadian company Advanced Digital Communications made a sensational discovery off the coast of Cuba. At a depth of about 750 meters, strange structures resembling stone structures were discovered on the ocean floor. These structures looked like organized rows of giant stone blocks, some of which had a regular rectangular shape and resembled massive walls or pyramidal structures. The initial results of underwater research carried out using modern sonar led to the hypothesis of the possible existence of a sunken city that could have been absorbed by the ocean tens of thousands of years ago. According to some estimates, the age of these ruins may exceed 50,000 years, which is significantly older than the earliest known civilizations, such as Sumer and ancient Egypt. This makes the possible discovery even more intriguing since it suggests the existence of ancient and possibly highly developed cultures that science does not yet know anything about. Some scientists believe that these ruins may represent the remains of an ancient city built before the last ice age, when the ocean level was much lower. There is a suggestion that this area may have been inhabited by ancient peoples who were later forced to leave their homes due to rising sea levels. This hypothesis finds support among supporters of the theory of the existence of ancient sunken continents, such as Atlantis, described in the works of Plato. Some geologists suggest that these formations may be the result of natural geological processes such as erosion, earthquakes, and other movements of the Earth's crust. Further research and analysis of the underwater ruins off the coast of Cuba will require significant resources and time. Let's hope that the authorities will find the funds to study these ancient ruins. The first-of-its-kind fortress of the Bronze Age. In the Romanian forests of Namt County, archaeologists discovered an ancient fortress about 5,000 years old, and modern LiDAR technology helped them in this. Thanks to drones equipped with laser scanners, they were able to illuminate the dense vegetation and obtain a clear image of the structure, which had been hidden from the human eye for centuries. The fortress dates back to the transition from the Neolithic to the Bronze Age, a period when people were just beginning to build fortified settlements. LiDAR showed that it was a well-thought-out and powerful structure. Ditches hundreds of meters long, earthen ramparts, a strategically advantageous location at a height, all indicate serious knowledge and work organization among the ancient builders. Only with the help of modern technology can we truly understand the scale and structure of ancient monuments. These are not just ruins, they are traces of a complex and well-thought-out civilization that we are just beginning to rediscover. The oldest bridge on the planet. One of the oldest arch bridges still in use is the Archaeodico Bridge, located in the Peloponnese between ancient Tiryns and Epidaurus. Built around 1300 BC, it is one of the oldest surviving bridges in the world. The structure is built from limestone boulders using the Cyclopean masonry technique, without the use of mortar but with perfectly fitted stones. It is 22 meters long, 5.6 meters wide, and 4 meters high. At the base, there is a small culvert about a meter wide. The roadway of the bridge, 2.5 meters, allows even a modern car to pass, but the bridge was originally intended for chariots, the traces of which can be seen on the stones. Archaeodico is one of 4 Mycenaean bridges that have survived along the ancient road. A kilometer away is the Petrogefiri Bridge, slightly higher in construction but still in use today. Another surviving Mycenaean bridge is at Lycotroupi in northern Argolis. It was part of another important Bronze Age road once used by chariots, leaving behind curbs to guide them. What makes these bridges unique is not only their age, but also the fact that they still perform their function after more than 3,000 years. A lavish, pointless event. Balingham is a small village in England, but it was here that one of the most lavish meetings in history took place 500 years ago. England's King Henry VIII and the French monarch Francis I held a grand celebration that went down in history as the Field of the Cloth of Gold. Officially, the meeting was supposed to strengthen the alliance of the two kings against Emperor Charles V, but in reality it became a competition in luxury. Henry built a giant tent palace of 10,000 square meters, the walls of which were brick at the base and painted to look like stone above. The roof resembled tiles, and at the entrance there were fountains from which red wine flowed. The celebration lasted 18 days, accompanied by feasts, tournaments, and masquerades. The kings were visited by 3,500 retinues, for whom 98,000 eggs, 2,200 sheep, and even exotic dishes like guinea pig and dolphin were prepared. But even amidst the luxury, rivalry prevailed. Henry challenged Francis to a fight and lost. Soon he entered into an alliance with Charles V, and a year later England was at war with France. The Field of the Cloth of Gold became a symbol of incredible extravagance that ruined the treasuries of both countries. Sunken Garden in Australia. Hidden in the town of Mount Gambier, South Australia, lies the magical cave-in of Umferston, also known as the Sunken Garden. Created in 1886 by James Umferston, it was conceived as a reinterpretation of a huge limestone cave into a picturesque Victorian garden. Descending stairs from ground level, visitors can explore this stunning underground oasis, filled with terraced gardens, ferns, hydrangeas, and even hanging ivy hanging from the cave ceiling. One of the unique features of the Umferston collapse is the colony of possums that live here. At dawn, these nocturnal creatures emerge to feed on fruits left by visitors. Watching possums adds a special charm and allows you to get closer to Australia's wildlife. As you know, the Umferston landslide is not only a unique natural formation, but also the embodiment of the amazing interaction between man and nature. The creation of this garden demonstrates how human intervention can transform a natural space into a place of beauty and peace. 2 alien bases on Earth. American lawyer and ufologist Danny Sheehan claims to have video recordings confirming the existence of alien bases on Earth. According to him, one of the largest such bases is located in the Pacific Ocean, between the western coast of Mexico and the island of Guadalupe, possibly even under the ocean floor. Sheehan is known for his investigations related to UFOs and in recent years has actively recruited witnesses to testify in the U.S. Congress. He is confident that the UFO phenomenon is real and that ships transporting living beings from other planets or dimensions have long been present on Earth. According to him, the underwater base is being monitored, and there are already hundreds of videos showing how unidentified objects dive underwater and rise to the surface again. In addition, Sheehan claims that the military is trying to shoot down these ships and capture their crews. He warns that the government is hiding the truth, but confirmation of the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations is inevitable. People of an unknown civilization. In the tropical forests of Brazil, in the state of Rondônia, archaeologists have recorded rare footage of people from the isolated Masaco tribe. This tribe, discovered in the 1990s, categorically avoids contact with the outside world and carefully guards its lands, setting up deadly traps made of wooden spikes. These spikes are so strong that they can puncture tractor tires. The Masaco are one of 28 tribes in the Amazon that are completely cut off from civilization. Scientists have installed cameras in the jungle to study them without invading them. Researcher Algair has been monitoring the tribe since 1992, and thanks to his work, it has been possible to stop deforestation in their territory. Early attempts to contact isolated peoples often ended tragically due to outbreaks of disease. Therefore, the Masaco rejected any offerings, tools, utensils, weapons. They left only sharp thorns at the meeting places, warning strangers that the invasion was undesirable. After the end of contacts and the protection of their lands, the tribe's population increased. In the 90s, about 90 people lived here. Now, 200, 250. Scientists have made maps of their paths and camps, recorded their nomadic farming techniques on satellites. The tribe burns down the savanna and then moves there during the rainy season. The Masaco differ from other tribes in their long bows, up to 3 meters. Anthropologists still do not understand how they shoot from them. Their language is unique and not understood even by other indigenous peoples. Researchers note the number of Masaco is growing, which means that sooner or later they will encounter civilization. But history shows that such contacts rarely end well. He burned a wonder of the world for likes. In ancient Ephesus, on the western coast of Asia Minor, archaeologists have reconstructed the outlines of the famous Temple of Artemis. One of the 7 wonders of the world, only fragments of columns and a foundation remain, but even this is enough to understand its scale. However, one of the strangest and saddest stories of antiquity is connected to the temple, the story of Herostratus. In 356 BC, he set fire to the temple, not for revenge or faith, but for glory. Herostratus wanted his name to be remembered, even if it meant death. The temple burned on the same night that, according to legend, Alexander the Great was born. The fire destroyed one of the greatest structures of the ancient world and became an example of senseless destruction. After the fire, the authorities of Ephesus forbade the utterance of Herostratus's name under penalty of death. But this ban had the opposite effect. The name survived. The historian Theopompus recorded it, and with it the paradox itself. The man who destroyed a masterpiece became immortal precisely because of his crime. When archaeologists in the 20th century uncovered the lower layers of the sanctuary, they found traces of an ancient fire, charred beams, melted fragments of roof tiles, and even in these pieces of ashes a strange irony is felt. The greatest temple of its era was destroyed not by enemies, not by the elements, but by a man who craved memory. Today, the name of Herostratus has become a symbol of destructive fame, that time remembers not only creators, but also those who strive to be remembered at any cost. Even today, we often see influencers who are willing to commit horrific acts for the sake of popularity. And it turns out that this was practiced even thousands of years ago. New Mayan ruins. Archaeologists are finding more and more Mayan ruins thanks to new technologies and satellites that help to detect structures hidden under dense forests. As Texas Tech University archaeology professor Brett Houck told a NASA conference, scientists have discovered more Mayan sites in the last 10 years than in the previous 150 years. The main tool that helps in this is LiDAR, laser scanning technology. LiDAR allows you to see through dense forest vegetation and reveal structures that were previously hidden. With the help of this technology, archaeologists are finding more and more ruins in what is now Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize. One such project is a study in northeastern Belize, where a team of scientists is studying an area of 650 square kilometers. In just a few days, scientists have discovered 28 new large sites. The technologies of the past used by the Maya to manage water and farm may still be useful today. Tim Murtha of the University of North Carolina at Charlotte noted that the Maya adapted to changing climate conditions by creating systems of terraces and reservoirs to combat droughts. These ancient techniques may hold important lessons for today's changing climate. Tatar screws. In 1996, local geologists examined an abandoned quarry near the village of Kucherovo in Tatarstan and split a sandstone boulder. Inside was a metal bolt the length of a finger with clear carvings around the rod. The photo quickly made it into the newspapers. Supposedly, the technology of prehistoric builders was frozen in the stone of the Jurassic period. The legend gained popularity. They talked about a hidden mine where they found nuts and washers, and one worker swore that the threads on the bolt were exactly like the M8. When the sample was sent to Kazan University, no metallurgy was found there. The bolt turned out to be a limestone column impregnated with ferrous minerals. Under a microscope, the threads turned into discs, identical segments of an ancient Crinoid sea lily, a fragment of which got stuck in the bottom silt millions of years ago and mineralized along with the sand. Such stems, screws, are known to paleontologists all over the world. If you split the rock crosswise, they look like perfect washers, and if you split them lengthwise, they look like a spiral. Science seems to have put everything in its place, but the stone with the bolt still lies in the school museum with a sign, "Mystery of Nature." Tour guides smile. One blurry photo is enough for a multi-million crinoid to turn into a part of an unknown mechanism. And bloggers and pseudoscientific archaeologists are once again trying to rewrite history. Underground temple in Malta. The Hal Saflieni Hypogeum in Malta is an ancient underground complex built around 4000 BC. It is one of the world's finest prehistoric sites and was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1980. This incredible structure has several levels and chambers carved into the limestone rock and was used as a place for burials and ritual ceremonies. The remains of more than 7,000 people were found here. But the most fascinating thing about the Hypogeum is its unique acoustic properties. In the oracle chamber, sound resonates at amazing frequencies, creating a special acoustic effect. Secrets of a Chinese settlement. In the Chinese city of Shaoxing, Zhejiang province, workers encountered unusual soil layers during the construction of a water treatment plant. Archaeologists from the Zhejiang Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology conducted excavations and discovered the remains of a coastal settlement dating back approximately 2,500 years. The find dates back to the Yue dynasty, which existed during the Warring States period from 475 to 221 BC. The excavations revealed that the city of Baikaoyuan served as a trading and maritime hub. Two large wooden structures, totaling approximately 1,300 square meters, were discovered. The first was a stilt house with terraces and walls made of straw, reeds, and wooden posts secured with grass ropes. The second was a massive platform consisting of 10 rows of piles laid along the bank of the Kawe River. This type of construction required precise calculations and knowledge of soil loads and moisture. Experts note that the tenon joints in the wood demonstrate an understanding of three-dimensional construction, characteristic of later dynasties. Clay urns, porcelain bowls, bronze drills, and stone tripods were discovered at the site. Pig burials were of particular interest. Complete animal skeletons, laid along the bank, likely served as part of a sacrificial ritual. Such rituals indicate that the settlement's inhabitants associated water with fertility and life. Archaeologists and city authorities are currently preparing a plan to preserve the area as an archaeological reserve. The site is being called a time capsule of the late Bronze Age, providing insight into how cities dependent on rivers and seas were built in ancient China. The Algerian Atlantis. The underwater part of Tapasa is now being studied as seriously as the ruins on the shore. Divers and marine archaeologists are documenting amphorae, cisterns, storage niches, and most importantly, a pier carved into the rock, which looks like an engineering feature rather than a random landform. These fragments piece together a picture of a port that operated from at least the 4th century BC to the 3rd century AD, and the profile of the finds points to regular trade rather than occasional waste dumped into the sea. UNESCO insists on expanding the protected waters because the surf quickly erodes the cultural layer, and without the designated area, the site is vulnerable to illegal diving, which would mean losing even what we have seen. The team is recovering artifacts spotted back in the spring and following the dark contours of the structures with new equipment, but only a series of dives and sediment analysis will provide a definitive answer. Is this a sunken city washed away by the waves, or the lower tier of an ancient harbor gradually submerged beneath the waves? What's most compelling here isn't the word Atlantis, but the opportunity to peer into the workings of a real port that fed three eras, the Phoenician, Roman, and Byzantine, at once. If we can document the layout of the piers and cisterns, we'll finally understand what exactly this coastal hub looked like, something the sources remain silent about but the sea still preserves. Tunnels that were considered a myth. For the residents of Cusco, this discovery was a real confirmation of ancient legends about underground passages and hidden treasures. Archaeologists Jorge Calero Flores and Mildred Fernandez Palomino reported the discovery of a network of tunnels under the city connecting the Temple of the Sun and the fortress of Sacsayhuaman. According to preliminary data, the tunnels date back to the late 15th, early 16th centuries. The engineering solutions used in their construction are amazing. Stone walls, similar to the famous Inca structures, are resistant to earthquakes, and a complex drainage system prevented flooding. The length of the labyrinth is about 1,750 meters. The depth reaches 2.5 meters. The tunnels have three branches. One leads to Calispucio, the second passes under the Church of San Cristobal, and the third connects to Sacsayhuaman. The purpose of these passages remains a mystery. Some researchers suggest that the tunnels were used by priests or military commanders for secret travel. Others believe that they had ritual significance. Small niches were found in the walls, probably intended for sacrifices. Although no gold or artifacts have been found yet, the tunnels themselves are a valuable historical discovery. Modern technologies, such as ground-penetrating radar, help to study them without destruction. Local residents actively support the research, considering the find an important part of their heritage. Underground city in Montreal. Beneath the bustling streets of Montreal, Canada lies an amazing modern creation, the underground city, or La Ville Souterraine. Its construction began in 1962, and today this underground network spans more than 32 kilometers of tunnels and facilities, connecting various commercial, retail, and transport hubs. With climate control and a wide range of shops, restaurants, hotels, theaters, and office complexes, the underground city offers a unique and convenient refuge for both residents and visitors to Montreal during the harsh winter months. However, it is interesting to note that locals rarely use the term La Ville Souterraine. The more common name is Underground City to refer to this network of interconnected tunnels and spaces. Madagascar, 10th century. Southwest of the island, Igorombe region. On the Tenica Plateau, a team from the University of Bern uncovers a whole stone world. Terraces, niches carved into the rock, artificial pools, and traces of a quarry, scattered over an area of more than 8 square kilometers. Radiocarbon dating of coal from the cultural layer confidently places it between the 10th and 12th centuries, and here's where things get truly interesting. Individual elements of the complex are eerily similar to Iranian Zoroastrian funerary monuments, towers of silence, where bodies were left in the open air and the cleaned bones were later transferred to stone vaults. Doorways are visible in the niches of Tenica, and some rooms replicate the layout of Persian crypts. There are no direct remains, which could have been erased by the climate, but the architectural logic strongly suggests the presence of groups with Iranian religious roots in Madagascar in the early Middle Ages. Fragments of Chinese and South Asian ceramics from the 11th to 14th centuries add another layer. The island was so tightly connected to Indian Ocean trade networks that even a settlement 200 kilometers from the coast is part of transoceanic exchanges. If this hypothesis is confirmed, the textbook diagrams of the two sources of Madagascar's settlement will have to be rewritten, adding a Persian connection and land communications across the inland plateau. Salt mine in Wieliczka. The Wieliczka mine, located near Krakow in Poland, is a massive underground complex that has been in operation since the 13th century. From 9 levels going down to a depth of more than 327 meters, an astonishing amount of rock salt was mined here, about 200 million tons. Today, the Wieliczka mine is a popular tourist attraction. Visitors can take a fascinating journey through the historical and mythical halls of the mine, where they will find magnificent salt sculptures, including the famous Last Supper, as well as various chandeliers made from salt minerals. The mine is also home to a resort where guests can try halotherapy, a treatment using salt that is believed to help with a variety of respiratory conditions and skin problems. Road underwater. When diving in the Hawaiian Islands, you expect to find many things: lava, craters, rare corals, but not a road, and certainly not like this. At the depths near an underwater volcano, divers noticed a strange area. Perfectly straight stone slabs, yellow in color, laid out in a row. The surface is like a sidewalk. The structure is like masonry. The angles between the slabs are too precise to be random. All this did not look like a geological formation, but like a trace of something artificial. The video quickly spread across the internet. The comments are standard: Atlantis, ancient path, aliens. But the researchers themselves were puzzled. They did not find signs of human intervention in the area, but they could not immediately explain its origin. Later, geologists got involved. According to their version, this is the result of volcanic activity. Basaltic lava quickly cooled and cracked under the pressure of water, created polygonal faults. The structure we perceive as a road is actually a natural formation, but the way it looks is confusing because it's too recognizable. We're used to nature creating chaos, and here there's order. You look at these slabs and can't shake the feeling that someone has already been here. Not you first, not the fish. Someone. Maybe it's just an optical illusion or an effect of shapes, but there's a line where science gives an answer, and you still continue to doubt. A mysterious steel sanatorium. In 1928, a gigantic steel sphere approximately 20 meters tall, containing 38 rooms, opened in Cleveland on the shores of Lake Erie. The structure was built with funds from industrialist Henry Timken and the initiative of Dr. Furman Cunningham, an anesthesiologist who believed that positive pressure and oxygen could treat a wide range of ailments. The building featured 5 floors with living quarters and bathrooms, as well as a powerful climate control system. 3 compressors, 2 boilers, an ammonia refrigerant weighing approximately 27 tons, and filters that controlled pressure, temperature, humidity, and circulation. Cunningham's method relied on the erroneous assumption that many diseases were caused by anaerobic bacteria and could be treated with pressurized oxygen. Already in the year of its opening, the Bureau of Investigation of the American Medical Association characterized the project as commercial rather than scientific. In 1934, the facility was purchased by James Rand Jr. and renamed the Ohio Institute of Oxygen Therapy, but there was no steady flow of patients. 2 years later, the complex was resold and an unsuccessful attempt was made to use it as a regular clinic. By 1942, the steel sphere had been dismantled for scrap metal for the war industry. Cunningham's ideas regarding cancer, diabetes, and universal healing failed to materialize, but hyperbaric oxygenation found limited medical use for decompression sickness, CO poisoning, and a number of tissue healing problems. This no longer applies to the steel sanatorium itself. Hidden burial chamber. While cleaning a 3,900-year-old tomb in Egypt, archaeologists have discovered a hidden burial chamber. The work was carried out in the ancient tomb of Djefi Hapi in Asyut. According to a statement from Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, a team of Egyptian and German archaeologists discovered the chamber while following a shaft about 15 meters deep. Inside the small rectangular chamber, archaeologists found 2 ornate wooden sarcophagi nested inside each other. They belonged to a woman named Edi, the only daughter of Djefi Hapi, an important Namarch of Asyut province who lived around 1900 BC under Pharaoh Senusret I. Photos show the colorful sarcophagus in good condition. However, the chamber was robbed in ancient times, the mummy was damaged, and the mummification vessels were destroyed. Despite this, archaeologists found some parts of Edi's remains, the lid of the sarcophagus, and carved figures. Preliminary analysis suggests that Edi died young, probably before age 40, and suffered from a congenital foot defect. The rock-cut tomb of Djefi Hapi is considered the largest privately owned tomb from the Middle Kingdom. Icy ruins under snow. We are used to thinking of the Arctic as a place where only icy emptiness reigns, lifeless, empty, devoid of traces of civilization. But what if this is not so? What if under the thickness of glaciers there are not just traces of long-vanished peoples, but entire lost cities? Satellite research in recent years has led to the discovery of anomalous forms under the ice crust, which may indicate ancient ruins hidden deep in the depths of the north. These cities, according to some scientists, may be much older than the earliest of the civilizations known to us. Mesopotamia, Egypt, ancient India, all these peoples could have been simply a continuation of something greater and more mysterious than we can imagine. How is this possible? How could it happen that such cities are hidden under a multi-kilometer layer of ice? Today, these anomalies are at the level of hypotheses, but each new study only strengthens the mystery. Satellite images taken in the most remote corners of the planet show strange shapes and lines that resemble the structure of buildings, streets, and even entire cities. And if these hypotheses are confirmed, what if these glaciers are not just barriers but burial grounds of ancient civilizations? Ice caps that hide not only climate change but also forgotten epics of humanity. Surprisingly, perhaps these cities were victims of global catastrophes that preceded the ice ages. After all, is there anything more ancient than what is preserved by eternal ice? This question excites scientists more than ever. And perhaps if we unravel the mystery hidden under centuries-old ice, we will revise not only the history of our civilizations, but also the very understanding of how our world developed. Mysterious petroglyphs of Dayton Rock. On the banks of the Taunton River in Massachusetts, there is a small museum with a single but very unusual exhibit, a 40-ton rock taken out of the water and installed here in 1963. This stone, known as Dayton Rock, has long puzzled researchers with its mysterious inscriptions, the origin of which has remained a mystery for several centuries. The height of the rock is about 1.5 meters, the length is 3.5 meters, and the width is 3 meters. Its surface, covered with petroglyphs, was once inclined toward the water and probably served as a kind of message to sailors. The symbols engraved on the stone are straight lines, geometric figures, primitive images of people, and strange writing. The first written mention of the Daytona Rock dates back to 1680. English colonist John Danforth sketched the symbols, and 10 years later Reverend Cotton Mather described them in his book, calling them strange signs left by unknown ancient peoples. The rock gave rise to many hypotheses. In 1837, Danish explorer Carl Christian Raffin claimed that the inscriptions were made by Vikings and were related to the journey of Thorfinn Karlsefni, who, according to Scandinavian sagas, reached the shores of North America in the 11th century. His theory caused a stir, but in 1916, Professor Edmund Delabarre from Brown University proved that Raffin had faked the images, drawing in lines to support his hypothesis. Delabarre himself proposed a new version. He saw the name Miguel Cortereal and the date 1511 in the inscriptions. In his opinion, this message was left by a Portuguese explorer who went missing in America. In 1502, Cortereal set out to find his brother, who had been lost off the coast of Newfoundland, but he himself disappeared. He may have been forced to stay among the Indians, and 9 years later he carved a message about his fate on the rock. Delabarre's theory found support in Portugal but was received with caution in the world. Some believe that the authors of the inscriptions were the ancient Phoenicians, while others talk about the Chinese who reached America long before Columbus. Despite centuries of research, the Dayton Rock remains one of the most mysterious archaeological finds in the United States, continuing to inspire researchers to find its true history. The cost of building the Cheops Pyramid. We are used to skyscrapers that grow with the help of metal frames and modern technology, but the Cheops Pyramid, built around 2600 BC, still amazes the imagination. Its height reached 146 meters, and only by the 13th century AD did buildings appear higher. To understand how much it would cost to build such a pyramid today, historians and engineers estimated the costs of stone, transportation, salaries, crane rental, and other details. The amount is impressive, about $5 billion. After all, about 2.5 million cubic meters of limestone will be needed, for which you'll have to go to quarries, and for the interior cladding, thousands of tons of granite from Aswan, located hundreds of kilometers away. Add to this designers, geologists, fuel for transporting blocks and giant cranes. In ancient times, everything was done by hand. It is believed that thousands of free workers worked on the construction site, regularly changing teams that received decent food and housing. They moved multi-ton blocks along ramps using wooden rollers and erected a colossal structure that was surprisingly precise in its fit. Even today, it is impossible to fit a knife blade between some of the stones. According to some experts, the construction took from 20 to 27 years. About 2 tons of meat were needed daily to feed the workers, not counting grain, vegetables, and water. It is noteworthy that the project itself was headed by Himeun, the pharaoh's nephew, who actually acted as the chief architect. It was he who coordinated the work of tens of thousands of people, which in itself speaks of the impressive organization of labor in ancient Egypt. Today, the pyramids remain not only an object of historical heritage, but also a source of eternal questions about what humanity is capable of in order to realize ambitious goals. For the Egyptians, the Pyramid of Cheops was more than just a building. It was a symbol of the pharaoh's power and the highest engineering achievement of its time, which still inspires us to bold achievements. Hidden cameras in Scotland. In the shadow of modern-day Edinburgh, Scotland, lie the mysterious underground chambers known as the Vaults of Edinburgh. Built in the 18th century, these underground spaces were originally used as warehouses and workshops for the city's growing businesses. However, over time, conditions in the vaults deteriorated, and it became a center of illegal activities, including smuggling, brewing, and housing for the city's poor. Today, tours of Edinburgh's vaults give visitors the opportunity to delve into the city's darker history and explore the dark, candle-lit chambers and passages that remain to this day. As you know, the vaults of Edinburgh are evidence of the dark side of the city's history. They talk about the lives of ordinary people and the difficulties they faced in those days. Ancient cemetery of trade caravans. Archaeologists have made an important discovery in the Negev Highlands, a 2,500-year-old ancient burial site that sheds light on trade routes of the ancient world. The artifacts found confirm that the region was an important hub linking southern Arabia, Phoenicia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean. The excavations revealed the tombs of traders who crossed the desert, including merchants who carried frankincense, myrrh, and valuable goods. Among the finds were arrowheads from Yemen, jewelry, rare shells, and tools for processing frankincense. Of particular interest is the amulet of the Egyptian god Be. Its presence may indicate human trafficking in ancient times, as is confirmed by historical records of the Minites merchants from Yemen who acquired women in Egypt, Gaza, and Greece. The burial site is located at a strategic crossroads of ancient routes leading through the desert. The untold riches of the Incas. The treasure of Langanadis is one of the most fascinating legends of the lost riches of South America. According to legend, the Inca treasures, gold, silver, statues, and jewels, were hidden by the military leader Ruminawi in the Langanadis Mountains in the east of modern-day Ecuador. This happened after the Spanish executed the Inca ruler Atahualpa in 1533, despite the fact that the Inca people had already begun to collect a ransom for him. Ruminawi, upon learning of Atahualpa's death, ordered all the collected riches to be hidden so that they would not fall into the hands of the invaders. The Spanish captured him and subjected him to cruel torture, but he never revealed the secret of the treasure's location. Since then, the treasure of Langanadis has been the subject of many expeditions and searches, but none have been successful. The dense jungles, impassable mountain paths, and fogs of this region still hold the secret of the Inca gold. The legend lives on, inspiring treasure hunters from all over the world to search for the most mysterious treasure of South America. A stone tower. In Sardinia, in Barumini, a strange structure rises. A three-story tower made of enormous stone blocks. No cement, no arches, no metal. Everything is held together by sheer weight and precision. This is Su-Nuraxi, the heart of the ancient Nuragic culture that lived here over 3,000 years ago. The tower is surrounded by a ring of smaller towers connected by walls, and inside is a well carved directly into the rock. It is 15 meters deep, and water still flows there. Scholars believe the Nuragic structure served simultaneously as a fortress, a symbol of power, and possibly a ritual site. Su-Nuraxi is unique in that it has been preserved almost entirely. You can climb the stairs, walk through the interior corridors, and see how Bronze Age people built. Each slab weighs several tons, but is laid so precisely that you can't insert a knife blade between them. Excavations revealed that this site had been used for centuries, first as a fortification, then as a settlement, later as a storage facility, and even a burial site. In the 20th century, archaeologist Giovanni Liliu excavated the complex and proved that it was not a single tower, but an entire stone city. The Nuraga are a reminder that Bronze Age Europe was not dark. Here people knew how to design, build, and create monuments that stand for millennia. Underground rituals. Hidden deep in the mountainous region of central Anatolia lies the ancient underground city of Ursini. According to legends based on local traditions, Ursini was carved into the rocks during the Getian kingdom around 800 BC. The city was intended for protection from enemy invasions and bad weather. Ursini extends 4 levels deep into the ground, including living quarters, public plazas, and even a small underground temple. A unique ventilation system consisting of long, narrow ducts provided fresh air. In addition, the city had wells for water extraction and places for storing food. The most mysterious part of Ursini is the Hall of Shadows, where, according to legend, mysterious rituals were held. The walls of the hall are decorated with complex reliefs depicting mythical creatures and symbols, the meaning of which still remains unknown. Historians believe that Ursini may have been used as a temporary refuge during periods of war or natural disasters, but some studies suggest that the city may have been a permanent residence for a special segment of the population. Cleopatra's sunken port. Off the coast near Taposiris Magna, west of Alexandria, archaeologists have discovered a submerged site with evidence of an ancient harbor. Kathleen Martinez's team, along with marine archaeologist Bob Ballard, describes rows of massive foundations, estimated to be over 6 meters high, cemented blocks, column fragments, amphorae for storage and transport, and most importantly, numerous anchors dating to the reign of Cleopatra VII. Such an array of artifacts typically accompany a working port, mooring lines, storage areas, and navigational equipment. In 2022, a 1,227-meter-long underground tunnel extending to the Mediterranean Sea was discovered here. Its filling contained pottery and artifacts dating back to the Ptolemaic period. The harbor may have served the city complex and temple of Taposiris Magna, and during Cleopatra's reign, her fleet. This is supported by the dating and marine profile of the finds, but further pitting, dating of sediments, and linking of the structures to the ancient coastline are needed. If confirmed, we will gain rare evidence of the appearance and operation of the coastal network near the Ptolemaic capital, not in texts but in stone, wood, and iron. Ashoka's Column. In Delhi, India, in the courtyard of Qutb Minar, a 7-meter iron column has been standing for 1,500 years. The metal is dark but almost rust-free, just a thin brown film, like varnish. Legend has it that if you clasp the pillar with your hands, your wish will come true. Some say that the column was forged according to a recipe given to you by heavenly blacksmiths. The unusual thing about the column is that ordinary iron in the Indian climate swells with a reddish coating in a couple of seasons. But here, everything is intact. The material has been studied repeatedly. It turned out that the rod is welded from hundreds of strips of wrought iron with a high phosphorus content and almost no sulfur. When rain slightly corrodes the surface, the phosphorus reacts and forms a dense passive film that blocks oxygen better than any paint. The column was turned with the side where the metal is richer in phosphorus towards the midday sun. The heat helped the protective film to set faster. It turns out that the durability of the pillar is not a miracle, but a successful mixture of ore and the precise calculation of the craftsmen who knew how to correctly install their product. Nevertheless, the pillar still looks like an outsider among the rusty grates and stairs of the complex. A tourist running his palm over the cold metal does not see phosphorus oxides, but scientists ask themselves, how could 5th century blacksmiths without blast furnaces and laboratories select a composition that would outlive them 10 times longer? The answer is known, but the feeling of iron magic does not disappear. Beer Quarry Cave. This Roman quarry was once a refuge for smugglers and is now home to rare species of bat. The beer stone quarried here was an important building material in Roman times. 2,000 years of quarrying has created a winding system of caves near the village of Beer, which gives the stone its name. The first Romans to arrive in Devon noticed the limestone cliffs at the mouth of the River Exe. They discovered veins of fine-grained limestone and began quarrying it. When the surface supply was exhausted, the Romans dug deeper into the cliffs, quarrying the stone with picks and wooden wedges. The stone was used to build important public buildings. The stone was transported to the river and shipped out by boat. After the Romans left, the quarries were used by the Saxons. Their quarries had sharp, square corners, as opposed to the rounded Roman ones. Beer stone was easy to work but hardened in the air, becoming stronger. It was cut on site and used to build buildings such as Windsor Castle, London Bridge, and Westminster Abbey. The stone was also used in the construction of Christ Church Cathedral in St. Louis, USA. After the Protestant Reformation, Catholics held secret masses in these caves. In the early 19th century, smugglers, including Jack Rattenbury, used the caves to hide contraband from ships. Mining ceased in the early 20th century when a new site was discovered. These caves are now of particular scientific interest due to the rare bats that inhabit them. Aliens called home. Former U.S. counterintelligence agent Luis Elizondo has made another big statement. According to him, some UFOs observed by the military clearly have engraved symbols resembling ancient writing. These signs, he claims, could be an attempt by aliens to convey information or even instructions. Elizondo previously headed the secret AATIP program, which studied aerospace threats. He says that he personally saw oval objects with an unusual surface on which symbols similar to hieroglyphs or runes were engraved. He believes that such things are not applied just like that. This is part of communication. Interestingly, some of these symbols are similar in appearance to ancient writings found on Earth. According to him, the Pentagon has long been comparing these signs with ancient alphabets, trying to find matches. Perhaps aliens use a universal visual language, which means that we have more in common than it seems. Elizondo even mentioned the phrase, "they've already called home," hinting at attempts to communicate with other worlds. Elizondo's testimony is confirmed by other eyewitnesses. Military pilot Jake Barber said he saw an object of non-human origin just 150 feet away from him. Later, he was allegedly lifted aboard a helicopter. Elizondo is sure that there are many such devices, and U.S. intelligence has been studying them for a long time, including fragments, microchips, and even biomaterials. He calls on the authorities to disclose this data and begin an honest dialogue with society. The mysterious pyramids of Sitiang. This complex, discovered by archaeologists at the end of the 20th century, includes more than 80 pyramids, making it one of the largest burial sites in the Nubian Desert in Sudan. The Sidiing pyramids were built during the period when Nubia was under the influence of ancient Egypt, and the rulers of the Kush kingdom sought to imitate Egyptian traditions and architecture. Most of the Sidiing pyramids are small in size compared to Egyptian pyramids, the average height of which is between 3 and 7 meters. They were built of sandstone and brick and were used as burial places for nobles and members of the ruling elite. Archaeologists have found ceramics, jewelry, and the remains of mummies in these pyramids, which indicates the high level of skill of Nubian artisans. One of the mysteries of the Sidiing pyramids is their large number in a relatively small area, which makes this complex unique. The construction of such a large number of pyramids may indicate the important religious and cultural significance of this place for the ancient Nubians. Sidianga was also the site of the cult of the goddess Hathor, who played a key role in the religious life of Nubia. A tomb that survived earthquakes. On the site of the ancient city of Pasargadae, the capital of the Achaemenid Empire, lies a tomb traditionally associated with Cyrus the Great. The structure was erected around 530 BC and remains one of the most resilient monuments of ancient Iran. Over 2,500 years, it has withstood dozens of earthquakes without losing its structural integrity. Research has shown that the architects used principles similar to modern seismic isolation technologies. The tomb's foundation consists of several layers of limestone. The bottom layer is bound with lime mortar, ash, and sand, while the upper blocks are laid loosely on top. Between the layers is a spacer that allows the structure to slide slightly during tremors. This reduced the load and prevented the collapse of the stonework. The upper part of the tomb is constructed of massive blocks connected with metal clamps. Despite its simple form, a cubic chamber on a 6-step foundation, the structure is a sophisticated engineering system. Modeling conducted by the Islamic Azad University showed that during strong ground vibrations, the upper part is indeed capable of shifting relative to the foundation, absorbing the impact energy. There is still no definitive proof that Cyrus was actually buried in this mausoleum. The tomb was opened and plundered in ancient times, and the epitaph mentioned in sources has not survived. Despite the controversy over the identity of the deceased, the structure remains one of the oldest examples of earthquake-resistant architecture and evidence that Achaemenid engineers understood the nature of earthquakes much more deeply than is commonly believed. The Great Bell of Dammazedi. The Great Bell of Dammazedi is considered the largest bell ever made. It was cast in 1484 by order of the King of Myanmar Dammazedi and installed on the famous Shwedagon Pagoda in Yangon, one of the most sacred places for Buddhists in the country. According to historical data, the weight of the bell exceeded 290 tons, which makes it a record holder among similar structures. However, the fate of the bell was tragic. In 1608, the Portuguese mercenary and adventurer Felipe de Brito captured Yangon and decided to take the bell to melt it down for weapons. While transporting it across the Bogo River, he miscalculated the weight of the structure. The bell capsized the barge and sank to the bottom. Since then, it has not been possible to find it despite numerous attempts. Today, the Great Bell of Dammazedi remains part of the legends and national pride of Myanmar. Its story is a reminder of how culture, spirituality, and greed can be intertwined in one artifact, the fate of which remains a mystery to this day. Italian underground city. Perched atop a volcanic rock formation in Umbria, Italy, the city of Orvieto mesmerizes visitors with its subterranean wonders. Beneath the city's streets lies a complex network of more than 1,200 caves, wells, tunnels, and galleries that reveal Orvieto's rich history. The Etruscans inhabited the site as early as the 9th century BC, and many of the underground features, such as the cisterns and tombs, date back to that time. Of particular note is the impressive St. Patrick's Well, Pozzo di San Patrizio. Built in 1537, it goes to a depth of 62 meters and is a shining example of Renaissance engineering. From ancient wineries to pigeon breeding grounds, the underground city of Orvieto offers an incredible journey through time. Ancient walled city. Archaeologists have discovered a 600-year-old walled city in Dongguan, Guangdong Province, China. The discovery sheds light on the defense systems of the South China Sea during the Ming Dynasty. The excavations revealed massive fortress walls about 100 meters long and 7.6 meters thick, as well as the remains of roads, drains, foundations, and wells. The total area of the excavations was 3,000 square meters, making it the largest project in the region in recent years. The fortress was the province's first line of defense against seaborne invasions. Scientists plan to reconstruct the city's layout and create an archaeological park to better understand the military architecture of the time. Meanwhile, on Mount Helen in the Yinchuan district, archaeologists have found an ancient porcelain production center that is about 1,000 years old. The pottery found there is remarkably similar to that from Jingdezhen, the capital of porcelain. This discovery confirms the high level of cultural integration in medieval China. Escape tunnels. Archaeologists have discovered secret tunnels in the Alps that were used to evacuate the top Nazi leadership. These underground structures carved out of the rock are astonishing in their sophistication and scale. Researchers believe that the tunnels were part of a carefully planned network designed to provide a secret escape route in the event of the collapse of the Third Reich. Newly discovered documents and drawings confirm this. The routes passed through inaccessible areas of the Alps, which would have allowed the Nazi leaders to evade detection and pursuit. Archaeological finds include ventilation shafts, hidden exits, and small supply depots, indicating extensive preparation for a possible evacuation. These tunnels could have played a major role in the fate of the Nazi elite if the events of World War II had taken a different turn. Fortress in the middle of the desert. The ruins of the ancient Berber Khazar Draya, lost in an ocean of sand dunes, are an amazing architectural monument and evidence of the life of people who developed desert territories. This Khazar, located in Algeria, was hidden under layers of sand for a long time, which allowed it to be well preserved to this day. Khazar Draya is a traditional fortified village typical of the North African region. It was built to protect residents and their property from raids and harsh desert conditions. The fortifications include massive walls and towers that not only protected the inhabitants, but also served as shelter from the scorching sun. The date of construction of the Khazar remains unknown, which gives it additional mystery. Modern technologies such as satellite imagery allow us to explore the ruins and their surroundings from above, opening a new perspective on the architectural heritage of the Berbers. Sistine Chapel of Ancient Egypt. Here is one of the most stunning tombs of ancient Egypt, the tomb of Queen Nefertari, wife of Ramses II. It is over 3,200 years old and is often called the Sistine Chapel of Egypt because of its incredible paintings. Unlike many other tombs, this one amazes not only with its scale, but also with its bright, almost untouched colors. On the walls are scenes from the Book of the Dead, images of gods and Nefertari herself going to the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that such paintings would help the deceased pass the trials and achieve eternal life. The detail is amazing. Fine lines, intricate patterns, vivid colors, all this makes the tomb a real masterpiece. Unfortunately, many sections of the walls have been damaged by time, but restorers have managed to preserve its grandeur. Today, this tomb is considered one of the most beautiful in the Valley of the Queens and a true window into the world of ancient Egyptian art. Rocket launch pits. In Jiangkuang province in Laos, thousands of stone vessels are scattered, each as tall as a man with walls up to half a meter thick. Local tales claim that these are the goblets of giants who brewed rice wine after defeating demons. The first French explorers of the 19th century were puzzled. There are no lids, the bottom is sometimes pierced into the rubble, and some pots are carved from solid granite tens of kilometers from the deposit. After World War II, the legend gained popularity. American pilots mistook the fields of vessels for stone rockets and even dropped bombs on them. Excavations from 2016 to 2020 provided an explanation for the find, but still left several questions unanswered. Around some of the vessels, skeletons, glass beads, and bronze discs were found. Traces of burial rites from the Iron Age, approximately 500 BC to 500 AD. It seems that the dead bodies were first left to decompose in the open air, and later the bones were transferred to these huge urns. However, how exactly the inhabitants carved out multi-ton vessels and even transported them across the mountains remains a question. There are no traces of metal cutters on the rocks, and traces of grinding resemble giant skins. Now we know their ritual role, but we do not know the hands and tools that shape the boulders into the perfect pot. City of Guanajuato. The city of Guanajuato, located in central Mexico, is famous for its network of narrow streets, alleys, and tunnels that stretch beneath the city's colorful facades. These underground passages were originally created to drain water from the silver mines that were the city's lifeline during the Spanish colonial period. Over time, these tunnels were converted into functional roads and sidewalks, offering an alternative method of transportation underground to the busy streets above. Visitors to Guanajuato can explore these unique underground passages while learning about the city's colorful history, rich in silver mining, trade, and the influence of the Spanish colonial era. As you know, Guanajuato has not only unique architecture, but also a rich history. These underground passages are a testament to the amazing adaptation and innovation used to solve infrastructural and economic challenges across time. The city that shouldn't exist. In the south of modern Iraq, amidst the sun-scorched land, lie the ruins of Eridu. Once upon a time, canals flowed here, artisans worked, and fields were irrigated according to a precisely calculated system. Recent research has shown that Eridu is not just an ancient city, it may be the very first city on Earth. According to satellite data, archaeologists have found more than 4,000 canals and about 700 farms located according to a strictly organized scheme. Canals up to 9 kilometers long, an extensive irrigation network, infrastructure that could not have been built by disparate tribes. It required engineers, workers, a management system, and all this thousands of years before the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Akkadians appeared. The strangest thing is that the region was abandoned, and therefore this entire ancient system has survived almost intact. It's as if our modern city were buried under ash, and someone found it whole 6,000 years later. Eridu is mentioned in the Sumerian king list as the first city to be granted kingship from heaven. When myth and geodesy coincide, it gets a little creepy. The disappearance of the ancient civilization. 900 years ago, one of the world's largest civilizations, Cahokia, disappeared. New research has challenged the old theory that drought and crop failure were the cause. The Cahokia Mounds, located near modern-day St. Louis, were a thriving settlement with a population of about 5,000 people. By 1400, the site was deserted, and the reasons for the mass exodus remain a mystery to archaeologists. Archaeologists analyzed the soil of Cahokia, studying the carbon isotopes left behind by plants that grew during the mass exodus. The results showed that the ratio of carbon-12 to carbon-13 remained stable. This indicates that there were no significant changes in the local vegetation and does not support the version of crop failure. It is known that the inhabitants of Cahokia were inventive and may have had the skills to irrigate and store crops. They also had a varied diet, including fish, birds, deer, fruits, and nuts, which would have ensured their survival even if some food sources were lost. So why did they abandon Cahokia? Archaeologists suspect it was a long process caused by external factors. To better understand why, scientists plan to create a database of paleobotanical evidence and conduct experiments with growing ancient crops in controlled conditions. Tutankhamun of Kazakhstan. In 1969, a burial site of a man in golden armor was found in Kazakhstan, which became a symbol of the country. Scientists, carried away by 4,000 artifacts, forgot about the remains themselves. The golden armor of a warrior from the 5th century BC, known as the Golden Man, became a symbol of Kazakhstan's independence. It was found in a tomb of the Saka tribe near the settlement of Issyk, 60 kilometers east of Almaty. During excavations, archaeologists discovered remains with gold-decorated armor and many other valuable artifacts. The burial, found by a farmer preparing the land for sowing, remained untouched despite the looting of the main tomb. In a sarcophagus made of spruce logs lay a skeleton decorated with 4,000 gold ornaments. This discovery amazed scientists so much that the human remains initially received less attention. The Golden Man, dubbed the Kazakhstan Tutankhamun, is thought to be an 18-year-old Saka warrior wearing a costume made up of thousands of gold ornaments, including a shirt, boots, and headdress. The costume features animal motifs and a 70 centimeter tall headdress with arrows, snow leopards, and mythical creatures. Archaeologist Janine Davis Kimball has suggested that the remains may be those of a female priestess, citing artifacts found nearby such as a mirror and necklace. In her book, Warrior Women, she theorizes that the Golden Man may have been a woman. The poor condition of the bones after 50 years of exposure to bacteria and viruses makes analysis difficult, but the possibility that the Golden Man was a woman remains open. Regardless of gender, the craftsmanship of the costume is astounding. German bunker in the Arctic. In the north of the Kola Peninsula in the harsh Arctic tundra, there is a half-ruined German bunker from World War II. Officially, it is an ordinary military facility built during the Nazi occupation of the part of the northern USSR. However, over time, legends began to emerge around it. Local residents and ufologists claim that this was not just a supply base. Allegedly, this place was one of the secret strongholds of the Third Reich, where the Germans took out equipment, artifacts, and conducted mysterious research. In some versions, up to experiments with anti-gravity and interdimensional transitions. Particular attention was drawn to the bunker by its anomalous activity. Equipment near it fails, compasses go crazy, and tourists report strange lights in the sky. In the 90s, expeditions even came here. Not only historians, but also esotericists. There is a hypothesis that the object is connected with the legendary base 211 inches, supposedly a secret Nazi refuge in Antarctica. Only in this case, an Arctic branch. Of course, there is no scientific evidence for this, but the fact remains, around an ordinary-looking bunker, an almost mythical story has grown up, which still excites minds. Pyramid of the oldest civilization. The Norte Chico culture, also known as Caral Soup, is considered one of the oldest and most advanced civilizations of the Andes. It existed about 5,000 years ago and achieved significant advances in architecture, agriculture, and social organization. Archaeologists recently discovered a pyramidal structure about a kilometer from the sacred city of Caral Soupa in the Soup Valley, Peru. The structure is a quadrangular building with a wide staircase leading to the top. Its walls are decorated with massive vertical stones, huancas, which may have had not only structural but also ritual significance. In addition to the pyramid, the researchers found 12 public and ceremonial buildings located around a central plaza of almost 39 hectares. This indicates the existence of a small urban center with administrative and religious functions. 3 platforms were identified in the pyramid, which indicates a complex architectural tradition of the Caral civilization. At the Chupatsigaro site, archaeologists also discovered a unique geoglyph, made in the Sechina style. It depicts a human profile and is likely associated with rituals reflecting access to the region's marine and agricultural resources. City under the rocks. Tucked away in the Andalusian region of Spain is the charming town of Setenil de las Bodegas, built right into a cliff. The dwellings here are literally carved into the rock, and the hanging cliffs serve as natural shelter and insulation. The city's unique architecture dates back to the 12th century. This place was once a thriving Moorish settlement. Today, Setenil de las Bodegas attracts tourists from all over the world, offering them the opportunity to explore the winding streets lined with tapas bars, shops, and views of the picturesque surrounding countryside. Egyptian towers. When you hear the words ancient Egyptian houses, most people picture squat mud brick huts. Excavations in Emet, northern Delta, change the picture radically. Archaeologists have uncovered a late-period block, a whole street of tower houses, 4 to 5 stories high, a solid wall along the processional road to the Wajet Temple. The height is estimated at 12 to 15 meters, which for the 7th century BC is the equivalent of a modern 5-story block. The lower levels are filled with grain silos and beer vats. Higher up are living rooms with narrow chimneys, and even higher are covered terraces where date pits and bronze sistrums of the goddess Hathor have been preserved. In the evening, they didn't just dine here, but held rituals with music. 5 steps from the doors, a limestone promenade stretches to the Wajet Temple. The slabs are polished so that even today they reflect the setting sun, and the cult columns stand exactly where the masters of the 7th century BC placed them. It turns out to be a real mini-Memphis in the provinces. Dense, high-rise buildings, a market, a temple, and a sacred road in one cramped block. 3 layers of repair in the masonry show that the towers lived for at least a century and a half, and reliefs with Harpocrates and green faience Ushabtis are still visible on the facades. a sign that religion and everyday life here literally shared one wall. It destroys the old stereotype of a one-story Egypt. Secret underground city in England. Beneath the quiet English countryside, shrouded in mystery, lies one of the most famous underground cities, built in the late 1950s at the height of the Cold War. This secret bunker, known as Burlington, was designed to provide refuge for the British government in the event of a nuclear attack. Situated on 35 acres and approximately 200 feet underground, Burlington could house and work 4,000 government officials and employees for 3 months. It housed communication centers, a hospital, a broadcast studio, and even an underground lake to provide fresh water. Although the site was decommissioned in the early 2000s, it remains a fascinating example of Cold War-era planning and secrecy. Pyramid in Israel. In the Judean desert near the Dead Sea, archaeologists have stumbled upon a mysterious pyramidal structure that is about 2,200 years old. Built from massive hand-cut stones, each weighing hundreds of kilograms, the pyramid still remains a mystery to researchers. The site is located about 20 kilometers south of Masada and dates back to the Hellenistic period, when the territory of Israel was ruled by the Ptolemies and Seleucids. Already in the first week of excavations, bronze coins, weapons, papyri with Greek texts, ceramics, and even ancient furniture were found here. All this was miraculously preserved thanks to the dry climate of the desert. Scientists suggest that the structure could have been a watchtower protecting the trade route along which salt and bitumen from the Dead Sea were transported. There is another theory. Perhaps tax collectors were stationed here to check passing merchants. Later, during the Roman period, the structure may have been converted into a monumental tomb. Traces of burials indicate this, although most of the tomb was unfortunately looted. The oldest ever found. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of a Roman basilica built around 80 AD in the heart of modern London. The find was made at 85 Gracechurch Street on the site of ancient Londinium, a settlement founded in 43 AD as a trading center. The excavations revealed the foundations of a basilica that served legal and administrative functions. Nearby were the remains of a forum, the main marketplace and place of public gatherings. The walls of the basilica were made of Kinnish limestone and formed a structure measuring about 40 by 20 by 12 meters. The basilica stood for about 20 years, after which it was replaced by a larger complex, one of the most grandiose north of the Alps. Underground city in Bolivia. Deep in the desert plains of southern Bolivia lie the ruins of the mysterious underground city of Yanaku. According to local legends dating back to around the 7th century AD, Yanaku was built by ancient civilizations as a refuge from frequent droughts and military conflicts. The structure of the city includes a complex network of tunnels and chambers located at different levels. The levels are connected by stairs and slopes carved into the rock, and a unique water supply system provided residents with water even in the driest periods. Ancient drawings and glyphs have been discovered on the walls of individual chambers, which scientists suggest may be the key to understanding the lifestyle and culture of the Yanaku people. Research suggests that Yanaku may have been not only a refuge but also a center of cultural and religious significance. However, the reasons for his sudden oblivion remain a mystery. Today, Yanaku represents a unique archaeological heritage, attracting researchers and history buffs from all over the world. Ancient labyrinth. Modern remote sensing methods give archaeology new tools for understanding the past. One striking example is the study of the area around Rujim el-Hiri, an ancient complex of stone circles northeast of the Sea of Galilee. This mysterious monument clearly shows how satellite images allow us to look at the landscape from a completely different angle. Scientists analyzed photos of the area within a radius of 30 kilometers and discovered numerous megalithic structures, massive circles with thick walls and mysterious flower fences near rivers. All of them, according to one hypothesis, could have been elements of irrigation, defense, or cattle pens. In addition, the images show mounds of different shapes and sizes. Perhaps these are burials or signal hills. No less curious are the results of geological measurements. It seems that the territory itself has shifted over the past millennia, which is why the hypothesis about the astronomical purpose of Rujim el-Hiri has come into question. Satellite images show multi-layered construction and archaeological palimpsest, where later structures were built on top of earlier ones. Such studies open the door to the distant past. By comparing satellite data, excavation results, and geophysical analysis, scientists hope to reconstruct a picture of the life of the ancient inhabitants of the Levant and better understand why they erected such monumental stone labyrinths and surrounded them with complex agricultural systems. Over 100,000 years old. Researchers continue to unravel the mysteries of our evolution, now discovering unusual 115,000-year-old footprints in northern Saudi Arabia. The tracks, preserved in a former mud pit in the middle of the Nafud Desert, have astonished scientists by appearing in a place where such ancient human tracks were not expected. The tracks are estimated to belong to early Homo sapiens rather than Neanderthals, confirming the migration routes of human ancestors in a changing climate. Thanks to a surprising combination of factors, the absence of strong winds and the local climate, the structure of the tracks has remained virtually intact, allowing them to be accurately dated and reconstructed as a short-term stopover by Lake Alatar during a dry period. The site appears to have served as a rest and watering place rather than a permanent settlement, as evidenced by the lack of tool or hunting traces. Some scientists believe that these tracks fit into the general migration route by which Homo sapiens moved from Africa to Eurasia. The new findings change our view of migration routes and clearly demonstrate how nature can carefully preserve the chronicle of life. Boca Casemates. Luxembourg City is home to an impressive underground network of fortified tunnels and bastions known as the Boca Casemates. Built by the Spanish in the early 17th century, these vast underground galleries played a key role in the city's defense strategy, especially during the numerous sieges, wars, and conflicts that Luxembourg experienced throughout its history. In 1994, this extensive and unique underground defense system was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Today, visitors can explore the Boca Casemates and learn about the military engineering mastery behind the impressive underground construction. As you know, the Boca Casemates are one of the most visible evidence of the military history of Luxembourg. These structures demonstrate the complexity and thoughtfulness of the defensive architecture of the time and are an example of military engineering. 3,600 years of silence. For thousands of years, the sand kept the secrets of ancient Thebes, today Luxor, until archaeologists once again looked beneath its centuries-old dust. In recent excavations at the mortuary temple of Queen Hatshepsut, scientists have discovered a system of tombs up to 3,600 years old, and with them, portals into the lives and beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. The work has been carried out with the participation of the Zahi Hawass Foundation and the Supreme Council of Antiquities of Egypt since the fall of 2022. Among the finds are bronze coins with the profile of Alexander the Great, children's toys made of baked clay, various ornaments, winged scarabs, and even carved beads. Part of the Temple of Hatshepsut, rock-cut tombs from the Middle Kingdom, and the remains of the Asasif necropolis from the time of the Ptolemies were also discovered here. The burial shafts date back to the 17th dynasty. One of them contained a wooden coffin with the remains of a child. All this helps to better understand how people lived, believed, and died. A special find is the tomb of Jehuti Mes, a courtier associated with Queen Titishri. The inscription indicates that the burial dates back to the 9th year of the reign of Ahmose I. Perhaps the war boughs found here indicate the military service of the owner who fought in the expulsion of the Hyksos. In November of the same year, another tomb from the Middle Kingdom with 11 sealed burials was found nearby. Archaeologists are sure that Luxor holds many more such surprises. Each new artifact, be it beads or a war bow, unobtrusively lifts the curtain on the culture and history of pharaonic Egypt. Tarim mummies. In the Tarim Desert, located in western China, perfectly preserved mummies have been discovered that are over 4,000 years old. These mummies are striking in their condition, preserved due to the dry climate of the region. Chinese archaeologists cannot believe this because they have Caucasian features, which raises many questions about the migrations and cultural exchanges of ancient peoples. Research has shown that the mummies have high cheekbones, deep eye sockets, and blonde hair, which is not typical for the population of this region. These findings cast doubt on previous theories that the Tarim Basin was inhabited exclusively by Asian peoples. DNA tests have confirmed the mixed origins of these people, pointing to complex migration routes connecting east and west already in ancient times. The mummies were found in a variety of burials, many of which contained rich funerary gifts including textiles, weapons, and household items. The Tarim Desert mummies continue to be studied by scientists from all over the world, revealing more and more new aspects of ancient history. They are an archaeological phenomenon. Underground oasis in Iran. Hidden in the arid landscapes of Iran lies the ancient underground city of Nushabad, also known as Ui. This impressive three-story underground complex dates back to the Sasanian Empire. The city was carved into the earth to protect it from invasion and provide a safe haven from the region's harsh climate. Nushabad has a complex ventilation system, water wells, various living and storage chambers, and a labyrinth of interlocking tunnels that help deceive potential intruders. During the hot summer months, residents of Nushabad use thousand-year-old sections of the city for storage and shelter. Pirates turned the village into a turtle hideaway. On the southern coast of Boa Vista Island, part of the Cape Verde archipelago, lie the ruins of an ancient fishing village called Curl Velho. Life was once in full swing here. People caught fish, harvested salt, and traded with other islands. However, a series of pirate attacks in the early 19th century forced residents to move to a more fortified city, and the village became deserted. Now, the vast sandy shore has been dubbed Santa Monica, after the Californian beach of the same name, and all that remains of the once bustling village are the remains of stone walls surrounded by sand and salt marshes. Boa Vista is only about 620 square kilometers in size, and no more than 9,000 people live there permanently. However, the island is known not only for its tourism industry and picturesque beaches, but also for its unique natural conditions. The quiet shores with abandoned houses of Curl Velho are popular with seabirds and turtles, who lay their eggs in the sand. The growing tourist presence once threatened to disrupt their habitat, but environmental organizations managed to protect these areas and establish supervision of the nests. The name Boa Vista translates as beautiful view, and it truly reflects the charm of the island. And Curl Velho itself, founded by the Portuguese in the 17th century, seems to preserve the memory of those who once conquered these lands and fought for survival in difficult natural conditions for centuries. Fort Canning Bunker. Hidden beneath the greenery of Fort Canning Park in Singapore lies an artifact reminiscent of the World War II period in the country's history. Also known as Battle Box, the Fort Canning Bunker is a former underground military command center built by the British in the 1930s. Comprising 26 rooms and 2 floors, this underground facility once served as the headquarters of British General Percival during the Battle of Singapore. Today, tours of the Fort Canning Bunker allow visitors to explore the well-preserved rooms, including the encryption room, telephone exchange, and air filtration system, and learn about Singapore's military experience. As you know, Battle Box is not only a monument to military history, but also evidence of the strategic importance of Singapore in the global conflicts of that time. This site demonstrates the level of military engineering and planning used by the British during the war. Excavations of an ancient civilization. Located near the northern coastal city of Trujillo in Peru, the ancient city of Chan Chan provides a unique glimpse into the fascinating world of the Chimu civilization. One of the most extensive pre-Hispanic cities in South America, Chan Chan is famous for its complex system of underground canals, tunnels, and spaces that ensured the efficient management of water and other resources during the city's heyday. The city's secret underground infrastructure also served as a refuge during harsh weather conditions and potential invasions by aggressors. Today, visitors can explore the Chan Chan archaeological site to uncover its unique history, including both above and below-ground remains of the complex social structure of the Chimu civilization. As you know, Chan Chan is not only an archaeological site, but also evidence of the highly developed Chimu civilization. These structures demonstrate the advanced technology and skills of ancient people in the fields of architecture and resource management. Would you like to visit these ancient underground cities? Or perhaps some of you have already experienced something similar. Be sure to write about this in the comments under the video, and it will be interesting for all of us to read. Thanks for your views. Bye, everyone.